How do I sell my house without a real estate agent? Maybe that's a question you've asked yourself as you have decided to do it for Sale by Owner, which I totally respect that. And you're probably wondering why would a real estate agent, why would they be sharing this information with you? Selling a house is a very big decision that comes with lots of ups and downs, no matter if there's an agent involved or not. Now, 90% of for Sale by Owner sales fail. And I don't want that to be you, but you do need some tools. Some of my fellow agents may even scratch their heads and maybe even get a little upset that I'm sharing some trade secret, wondering why would she do that? It's because one big reason I chose real estate as a career is because I want to educate people on probably one of the biggest investments in their life. And that means even you for Sale by Owner. So keep watching for the 10 steps it takes to sell your house as a for sale by owner. Now, I've already mentioned that for Sale by Owner, also known as FSBO, has a high failure rate, but also of the 10% that do succeed, they tend to sell for 10, even up to 20% less than they would if they had been listed with a real estate agent. So for example, we have this house. An owner sells it for $200,000, but they could have gotten more out of it if an agent sold it for 10% more at $220,000 or even 20% more at $240,000. While that's what the statistics do say, that doesn't have to be you. Without further ado, here are the 10 steps to sell your home without a real estate agent. Curb appeal is number one. And if you've ever watched HGTV, you've probably heard this word before. And this may seem like common sense, so why am I even mentioning it? Because sometimes it is not common sense, but it can have a really huge impact on how well your home sells. Now, I am not talking about going and repaving your driveway, building a brand new deck, replacing all the vinyl on the house. Those things are definitely valuable, but realistically speaking, you want to sell your home now. So even doing small things can give your house a little facelift. So things like pressure wash the driveway and the vinyl siding, keep the grass mowed and weedy around the edges, even plant some flowers. And they don't even have to be real flowers. So once upon a time, I was actually selling one of my personal homes. In the front, there were these two huge concrete flower planters full of dirt. They were extremely heavy, so I couldn't move them, but they were ugly and bland. So I went to the dollar store, the literal $1 store, and bought fake flowers and stuck them down in those planters. You really couldn't tell they were fake unless you bent down to look right up on them. But for one, it just made the photos look better, but also two, it just made the home look more neat and maintained from the outside. And that is the key takeaway here with curb appeal. I have some more curb appeal tips and ideas in my free for Sale by Owner Success Guide, which you can get in the link in the description below. So now that you've got the outside taken care of, let's move inside, because we all know true beauty comes from the inside, right? And that goes home for a home as well. But what I mean by that is staging. You want the inside to be just as appealing as outside, if not even more. Now, you don't necessarily need to go buy or even rent a bunch of furniture and decor and repaint all the walls. If you're still living in the home, it's your personal space, of course. But put away things that are very personal, like pictures of family, anything that a stranger does not need to see. I will add to that, put away anything of value as well. Make sure things are tidy, clean, mess-free. Do small things like replace light bulbs, repair leaky faucets or a doorknob that fell off, so that when buyers walk into the house, they can picture themselves making this place their home without needing to do all kinds of repairs. Of course, if you don't live there and it's empty, virtual staging is an option. This just uses a picture of your empty room and uses a technology to fill it up with furniture and decor. You can pay someone to do it if you're like me and you don't have talent to do it yourself. But staging an empty room virtually helps buyers envision what they could do with that room and give ideas on how they could utilize it. Whether you live in the home or not, definitely take some time to do small staging. Put away kitchen appliances so kitchen counters are uncluttered. freshen up the living room with some new curtains, maybe some throw pillows, replace broken blinds. Of course, if you live by go big or go home, you could hire a professional staging company and they will actually come in and transform your home from top to bottom. Maybe you're thinking these things are not really tips because everyone knows to do these things. I mean, maybe, but now is where we really get serious. This next thing is absolutely crucial. It can make or break your sale, and I'm really not exaggerating this, and that is the photography. Professional photography. Not pictures taken with a cell phone, no matter how good your camera is, and not taken by just anyone who says they're a photographer. I mean a professional photographer who specializes in real estate photography. If you're going to invest any money into selling your home, this is it. Invest it into getting proper photography. If you're rolling your eyes yet, saying a picture is a picture, pictures themselves will not sell a home, but a listing won't go anywhere without really good ones. So most buyers begin their search on sites like Zillow, and the pictures are the very first thing they're going to see. It's the first impression, and if that impression isn't making them go, wow, they're not coming to see the house. They'll just move on to the next one. So photos need to pop off the screen and stand out from all the other listings. So buyers notice it, get excited about it, and want to come see your house. I'm sure you've probably scrolled through pictures of houses online and ran across a dark or a cluttered picture, and it made you want to just move on to the next house. And having 32 pictures of the same room from different angles is also a bad idea. I like to think that less is actually more. Your home won't sell based on just the photos, but it should be enough to get people excited to come in person. So let's take a look at some examples of what is good and what's not. Having the bad photos can cost you a buyer, and it can make the house sit on the market for longer, much longer. And if you don't want to hire a photographer and want to try doing it yourself, my free For Sale by Owner success guide in the link in the description has some tips on how to get some good pictures and choose the best ones to use for your listing. So your house is looking real good and you got some really killer photos, but none of that is going to do any good if it's not priced correctly. As agents, we do what's called a comparative market analysis, or CMA. You've probably heard of it referred to as comps. This is where we, or in this case you, will look at sales within the past 6 months of homes in the same area as yours and homes that are similar to yours. So you'll compare things like condition, neighborhood, size, number of bedrooms, extras like pools and garages. There's a lot of little details that can affect the price of a home. So agents like myself have access to very detailed, specific information to get the most accurate valuation. But if you're doing one on your own, you can simply use Zillow or Realtor.com and use the search filter to search for recent sales and narrow it down to specifications of your home. I do not recommend using things like Zestimate though. But this process can be very nuanced. There's a fine line between what's comparable and what is not. For example, let's say this home you're selling. It's 1,800 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, pretty standard, built in 2001. It's in average condition in a typical neighborhood. You take a look around at some recent sales in the area and see one that recently sold, and it's almost exactly the same as yours. 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 1,800 square feet, built in 1993. But wow, it sold for $600,000. Okay, but wait, the other houses you found around your neighborhood are only $250,000. So don't go adding the $600,000 house into your comps, because look at where it's at. It's in the gated golf club neighborhood with $1 million homes. So this neighborhood is not your typical neighborhood and cannot be used to price your home. If you do use it, you're going to be grossly overpriced, and probably about 105% of buyers are going to scoff and just pass you by. Take a look at this. When a home is listed 5% above market value, this much of the people see it. Only 50% of potential buyers. The higher above market value is listed, the less people will see it. And that's why you want to have it right here in the middle. It gives the most people a chance to see it. Having the wrong price in the beginning is a death sentence, because the longer a house sits on the market, the harder it is to sell because it receives less and less attention. It only takes one buyer, and I think it should be priced fairly so you can ride on that new listing momentum. At this point, you've done all of the things. You've done your curb appeal, your staging photography, you've got the right price, and these are just what you do before you ever even list it anywhere for buyers to start seeing. So these next few actions I've kind of combined into one, which falls under marketing. And now is where you really want to pay attention and get serious. So as an agent, the next step would be to list it on the MLS. Once it's listed there, it will automatically show up on places like Zillow and Realtor.com. You won't have access to this as someone who is not a licensed agent, but actually you can pay a fee for very limited access to the tools. You could also pay Zillow for them to allow you to list your home on there as a for sale by owner. Of course, places like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, local yard sale groups, those are all free. But while there is definitely a place for those avenues, and I encourage posting there, it's not where serious buyers are looking. 88% of serious buyers are actually working with an agent, and that agent is going to use the MLS to search for homes for their clients, not Craigslist. I want to pause for a moment. So let's breathe in, let it out. Because this next part is the number one absolute most important step that honestly can be very overwhelming, draining, frustrating, but it is a non-negotiable in selling a home. This is where the best agents spend most of their time and invest most of their own money, and that is marketing. The top producing agents know this is what really sells a home. I myself have an entire marketing plan with about 40 different steps and strategies. The past couple of years, the market, as we all know, has been hot. It was on fire. Houses were just flying off the shelves left and right. And even as agents, everyone got used to being able to just list it on the MLS and it would sell. But it's not like that anymore, especially in today's market. It is hard to sell a home, even harder when you don't know how to market it. But regardless of the market conditions, knowing how to get your house out there in front of people is a must. You can have the most beautiful home with the best pictures and video at the best price, but if no one sees it, then no one sees it. And it won't sell if no one sees it. So I encourage you to sit down, come up with 5 to 10 ways you can think of to get your house out there and get some eyes on it. So run Facebook ads, mail flyers to your neighborhood, letting them know it's for sale, online yard sale groups, social media. But having a marketing plan is going to be the bulk of your success. And my free For Sale by Owner Success Guide that you can download by clicking in the link in the description has some ideas you can use to do your own marketing. Okay, so let's say you got amazing photos, it's listed at the right price, and one of your Facebook ads was a success. You've got potential buyers interested and they want to come see your home. You've made it this far, but now is not the time to wing it. You need to have a system in place for getting people in for showings. Will you personally be there to open the door? Will you leave a key in a lockbox with a code? You can actually find those on Amazon for $20, but I do highly advise against just leaving it under the mat though. And one really important, solid, hard fact is that 88% of buyers are coming with their agent. And this agent is not your friend. They will treat you with respect and may even be friendly, but they're not your friend. They will not have your best interest in mind as they are the buyer's representation. As a for sale by owner, you do not have representation. And selling a property is emotional. It's complicated, especially as a for sale by owner. It's really best not to put yourself in a situation where emotions could overcome you and you say or do the wrong thing in front of a potential buyer, whether everyone gets a bad taste in their mouth or it leads to legal trouble. Because of this, in my professional opinion, and if I were in your shoes, I would opt not to do the showing beyond opening the door. On average, in today's market, it takes anywhere from 10 to 25 showings before any of them turn into an actual offer. But let's say one of your showings went great and a buyer wants to make an offer. Awesome. Their agent will submit that to you. You do not have representation again, so you'll have to consider all the terms on your own. And that buyer's agent is going to be ready to negotiate. They do this every day and are going to be good at it. But let's say everything goes smooth and everyone agrees on all terms. So now is the time to sign the contract. But before you do that, you need to understand it and what your rights and responsibilities are under that contract. So normally a seller's agent would be the one to do this, but in this case where you don't have an agent, you can consult an attorney or other professional. But note, the buyer's agent is the one drafting the contract and sending it to you to sign. And bottom line, just make sure you read and understand what you're signing because you are going to be held to that legally. One part of this contract is likely going to have an inspection and appraisal condition. They're not the same thing though. The inspection is paid for by the buyer to have an inspector of their choosing come and do an inspection and send in a report. An appraisal is ordered by the buyer's lender and will place a value on the home, which basically tells the lender if it's a good investment for them to approve a loan on or not. But either way, neither an inspector or an appraiser will be working for you. But back to the inspection. Once the contract is signed, there is a period of time the buyer has to complete their inspection. It could be 7 days or 10 or more. It really just depends on the contract. Typical is 10 days. But during this time, the buyer has the right to cancel the sale at any time for any reason. The appraisal comes a little later than the inspection. If the appraiser doesn't value the home at the sales price, a couple things can happen. First of all, the bank will not lend on a home that's below value. So either the price will be negotiated to meet that value placed by the appraisal, or the buyer will have to make up the difference from out of pocket. This could also kill the deal, and since it was in the contract as a condition of the sale, the buyers have the right to terminate that contract, and so do you. This is also just another reason why it's really important to list your house at the right price to begin with. We've made it this far. Inspections and appraisal are good, loan is approved, closing is scheduled. Title company will have done their homework to make sure the title to the home is good and sellable. So that means that there's no liens or delinquent taxes, that you have legal rights to sell, etc. Closing day is when you're at the closing table with the buyers and their agent. Everyone signs their documents, you hand over the keys to the new owners, and everyone is happy. Do keep in mind though that closing day does not always go smoothly. Sometimes everyone is at the closing table and something is wrong with paperwork and closing gets rescheduled or canceled completely. One time I was at a closing for this 120-acre farm. Everyone is at the table, but then the seller catches a mistake in the title work showing the legal description and boundaries of the property were incorrect. We sat there for a couple hours thinking it was going to get resolved, but it did not. We actually had to come back the next day and the paperwork was still wrong. We sat there for another 2 or 3 hours. No one was going to leave until it was fixed though. It did end up closing. Everyone walked away having succeeded in their goal, and the buyers and the sellers became friends through the process and actually are still to this day. But yes, these kind of things do happen, so keep that in mind. Yeah. Congratulations, you sold your home and you did it all on your own. One thing I did not go over are the transaction documents. This could be a whole video on its own because they are extensive. There are some required documents and they must be filled out completely and accurately because not doing so could land you into some hot legal waters, and that is something that no one wants. I would advise to contact your title company and ask if they have a packet for sale by owners that contains all of the required forms and documents. Some of them, like the seller's disclosure, must be done prior to listing. So make sure you know what each form is and what you need to do with it. If you don't know, ask an attorney. If you were working with an agent, they would ensure that this is all done properly. Of course, but as a for sale by owner, consult an attorney or another professional to look over everything before all is said and done. I also want to touch base with those of you considering selling as is, which you absolutely can. But keep in mind that this is going to 1, decrease your pool of potential buyers, 2, lower the perceived value of your home, and 3, could cost you a deal. So for example, let's say you did find a buyer who is willing to pay your price, but they're using a loan program like VA or FHA, where if certain issues are found during the appraisal process, you are required to remedy those. If you don't, the bank won't approve the loan and you could lose the sale, and we'll have to start this whole process over again with a new buyer. This all may sound like a lot, and it is a lot. Selling a house is a lot of work and it's hard. It is possible and you can do it. Like you, I am a homeowner and I understand your motivations for not just selling your home, but why you'd want to do it for sale by owner. So if you want my free, in-depth, detailed for sale by owner success guide, just click the link in the description. It will explain these steps in more detail, give tips and ideas, and important reminders of things to consider. This is completely free. You just have to download it and it is yours to use. But if you feel like maybe this is a little bit more than you expected and it's not something you could handle on your own, or the time commitment it takes, or maybe you give it a try and 45, 60 days down the road, you want to consider another option. A professional real estate agent like myself has the knowledge and the skills to get your home sold faster, more efficiently, for the most amount of money and the least amount of confusion and frustration for you. Real estate agents work with a lot of buyers. I specialize in relocation, so I work with a lot of buyers from out of town and even out of state who are always looking to move or invest here. They're motivated and qualified, many times with cash in hand. Also, there are agents out there with literal decades of experience, which definitely has its place in my 1000% respect. But as an agent who started during this age of technology and social media, I know how to use them to create aggressive, bold marketing to meet the demands of today's market. All the research and statistics say 90% of for sale by owner sales fail. I do not want that to be you. I want you to sell your home and for the price that you deserve. My broker and real estate info is in the description below, so feel free to call, text, email if you have any questions about this process or maybe want some guidance on how to get started. And until we meet again, I hope that you live the good life